welcome to the Indie Author Showcase. I'm Chad Robert Morgan,
And I'm Alexander Morgan.
who is secretly, or not so secretly, trying to
Not
sabotage.
secretly at all.
Not secretly
No,
at all.
I'm
No.
I'm very blatantly
Very blatantly trying
not
to
putting
sabotage.
my 100% out there.
Yes. Yes. That's actually
I'm
why we're a week late, because you there was like, oh, I don't feel like it today.
yeah.
I'll do it tomorrow.
I'm giving this my whole 7%
Whole,
tops.
whole 7. That much.
At a maximum.
That we're up to 7.
No, you're right. That's highballing it. Maybe like a solid 3. 3% tops.
Oh Lord.
No, what? No, 1%. 1%'s about right.
Today's podcast brought to you by percentages. The thing my son knows nothing about. Percentages.
I know a lot about percentages. You doubt my percentage knowledge. You doubt my knowledge in percentages because you know nothing about percentages, and that's okay. I understand you are misinformed, ignorant to the art of percentages. I get that. It's hard. I understand. 8th grade math is very difficult. I also agree.
Yes. Even though you're a junior, you can. Yeah.
Well, you're also a college graduate.
Yes.
So yeah, I feel like one of us being more some percentages. I never said I'm bad at percentages, by the way. I said that this guy is full blown college graduate job. Kind of embarrassing. He doesn't know percentages.
So
what's 72% plus 6%?
72 plus 6 is 78. That's just addition.
I didn't know if you do that. Sometimes I worry about this guy, you know.
I worry about you constantly.
It gets what's 7?
I worry about you constantly, especially since now you're driving.
What's 7 times? Hey, no, it gets worse.
Stay off the sidewalk.
No,
now you got a license.
It gets worse.
You have an actual license.
Mom said I have full permission to work towards a motorcycle license. That's what Mom said.
Well, okay, no, her and I need to have a conversation about that.
I'm Filipino.
I don't care.
Oh my God, you deny? He's racist. He's a racist.
I mean, you realize you got a cousin that got himself in the hospital because of one of those damn things, right?
Yeah, we're Filipino.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens.
Him and his girlfriend because he was driving drunk.
Yeah, well, just don't drive drunk. Easy solution. You're denying me my birthright, father.
It's the way drivers treat motorcycles here in California. I've known many motorcycle drivers, and each one of them has a horror story about.
Yeah.
No.
It's like fun.
See, well, no, being put in traction is not fun. So, and the unofficial mascot of the podcast.
Yeah, look at him.
This is our advertisement for why we have a Patreon. So support us on the Patreon, patreon.podbean.com/indieauthorshowcase, so we can have a dog-free studio.
Brings a lot of lighthearted fun to the function.
As he's biting your leg.
No, he's actually biting my hand and then my leg. He's alternating. There's a ow, yowzers, ow, ow.
So this actually is a good segue because we were talking about this.
Dogs?
It was sort of, yeah, indirectly.
Ow.
One of the things we're talking about is how we're trying to build up this podcast, and we're trying to build up an audience. And it is, first of all, it's difficult to get attention to a podcast, especially when we are dealing with a subject that is not overly popular. It's not like we're doing a podcast about, politics or Taylor Swift or something like that.
It could be.
Well, we'd probably get more viewers if we did.
Yeah. Ow.
But the purpose of the
ow.
But one of the things we're talking about is we're trying very hard to do the best podcast we have with our limited abilities and our limited budget. Hence the Patreon again, and if you don't,
the dog.
And again, if you can also support us by going to Shop Spectral Inc. and buying any of our Indie Author Showcase merch. Any of that would help make this podcast a more professional looking podcast. We can put money into equipment, maybe getting a room where we do not have a dog that wants to play every time we start hitting record. But the point of that whole conversation is, um, I guess the easiest way to frame it is return on investment, right? Because um, just with the podcast, when I do my books, I try to make the best product that I can. Now, again, as an indie author, I do not have access to a publisher. I do not have access to a team of editors and everything like that, like a professional uh, writer would have, right? So this brings us to the topic of editing for indie authors.
Right?
Denim, you're just going to join us, right, at the
It's
podcast?
like part of a side gag, you know what I mean? You're like
Get the camera down so
blabbling on about like actual stuff, and then no, now you did that. The dog strip just kind of left.
he's camera shy.
Yeah, I get that. Come here, little boy. Ow, he's getting nippy, but.
So the reason I bring this up is
Ow.
I'm starting to read this new book. I'm about maybe halfway through it. And seriously, this is why we need a Patreon, because we need a dog-free studio.
He's like, it's like for the fun though, you know.
Oh,
there you go. Let's shift that back up. Ow.
he needs a treat or something.
He's a menace.
He needs a treat or something.
Bro, he's at.
So we're bribing the dog with treats to leave us alone. So
hopefully it works.
I'm sure it will work for as long as it takes him to eat the treat. So maybe at 5 minutes at an interval.
Yeah, when he's done, that's gonna be a real fun time.
So anyway, this summarizes the problem we have as indie authors, because we're kind of indie podcasters right now, and we're having the same problem with our podcast as a lot of authors have with their books. And that is trying to get quality on a budget.
I love budgeting. I hate spending my money.
So the reason I brought this up is, and as I was trying to say before we were so rudely interrupted by the puppy.
So rudely interrupted.
Is I'm reading this book called When Halloween Was Green.
It's like a tome.
Yeah, it's like 400 pages.
Oh my god,
pretty thick.
It's a manga. It's a humongous.
We will review it when I finish the book. I'm about halfway through it right now. I am enjoying the book in terms of the story, in terms of the characters, in terms of all that's concerned. As an artist, as a piece of art, I'm enjoying it. However, as I'm reading through it, it is a bit of a mess. I swear. Speaking of being a mess, the book is actually a little bit of a mess.
How much of a mess?
I'm seeing missing punctuation.
Gasp.
I'm seeing justifications that are off.
Gasp.
There'll be times when the justifications are correct and the lines go from page to page, and then other times you have a less justification where they all fall short on the other side.
Gasp.
So it's very inconsistent.
Gasp.
I think I've seen like a wrong word or missing word from time to time.
Gasp.
The short answer is it is an excellent story.
Gasp.
But the book really needs an editor. I mean, just a copy editor, just to go through and clean it up.
Grammarly.com.
Huh?
Grammarly.com.
That in itself might have helped. But that's another topic for another time. But
my school is banning the use of Grammarly.
Well,
I can't believe this.
So next week
I'm going to copy and paste all of my essays.
Next week I'm going to be at White Moon Dreams offices to interview Robert S. Campbell, who wrote what was it? The Rats Beneath the Walls, I believe it's called.
Gasp.
Excellent book. Again, one of the things he did was he used an AI editor. And so him and I were going to have a conversation about that when I interview him next week.
No.
Well, I have issues with that as well, but I haven't tried it, so I don't know how
What
well.
about like the human aspect?
Well, this is what I'm getting at. Okay, this is where indie authors have problems. So most books, you're lucky if you sell 100 copies.
Mhm.
Okay, so if you pay for the money to have an editor, chances are you are not going to get that money back.
Oh,
Okay. However, if you don't get an editor and you publish a book and you have missing punctuation and you have misspellings and everything like that, you have a subpar product, and the chances of you making money off of that are even less, right? So it's a catch 22. If you pay for an editor, you're probably not going to get the money back. But if you do pay for, but if you don't pay for an editor, your book's probably going to sell even worse than as badly as it was going to sell in the first place, right? I mean, it's really really hard for an indie author to build up an audience. It's even harder if the book has so many blatant errors in it. But if you pay to fix those errors or to make sure that those errors aren't there at print, you're probably going to be at a loss, at an even bigger loss when you do that. So you're kind of screwed either way. Um,
easy solution. Don't make typos.
well, but I mean, everybody is makes.
Spell correctly.
We're all human.
Spell laceration.
Oh no, not me to spell.
Can you not actually know how to spell laceration?
I'd have to think
I
about
said it as a joke to piss
it.
my friend
I'm
off.
actually the world's worst speller.
Laceration. Laceration.
I am the world's worst speller. If I didn't have spell check, I would totally die as an author. I don't know how I would do it.
Dude.
I am the world's worst speller.
Spelling isn't hard.
It kind of is, man. Have you ever not seen like Gallagher's spiel on that? It is hilarious. The English language is the hardest language in the world because it is such a mutt of a language that there are a million exceptions.
I'm looking around. Spell disposable.
Oh, don't ask me.
Disposable is so easy. I can see it. It is one of the easiest words I've ever seen ever to spell, bro.
Point is, I rely heavily on
spell it.
Things like
just try. Just try.
Oh, God, don't make me do
It's
this.
disposable. I could give a pen and paper to a lobotomized infant.
Yes, and that lobotomized infant could probably spell better than I can.
Yeah, that's kind of.
I do rely.
Lobotomized. LOBO. I'm making a point. LOBOT. Lobot. IMI. No, I spelled that part right. I don't spell lobotomy. LOBOTOMY. I don't know how to spell lobotomized because that's like a weird word. But like the spellings are hard, man.
I rely heavily on spell checkers.
Shredder.
And
SHREDDER. Boo. It's not hard. One.
Again, as I was saying.
Open a dictionary every once in a while.
As I was saying, I rely heavily on spell checkers, which in and of itself is imperfect because spell checkers tend to get confused on homonyms.
Ooh, can never be me.
Like
I'm a homonym guy.
Like, for example, in my latest book, just my workflow is first I write it out, and I don't really care about spelling or grammar or anything in my first pass. I'm just putting paint on the canvas, right? I'm just trying to get it out there. I'm more worried about
the devil out of it.
I'm worried about characters. I'm worried about plotting. I'm worried about world building. I'm not worried about the mechanics of it.
The mechanics.
My second pass.
The second pass.
You really need to quit doing that.
It's kind of funny.
It's really annoying.
I find it fun.
Because you can find it fun to annoy me as well.
Yes. No. Exactly. Yeah. It's a great time.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like one of my top 2 favorite hobbies.
Yes. My second pass is I run it through graphic. Throw something at you. Is I run it through Grammarly, right? And that's sort of my second pass.
No, you said it again. You're lucky I didn't do that time.
And that Grammarly tends to do a pretty good job in catching homonyms. It's catching the obvious grammars, mistakes, and stuff like that. Once I get my third pass is when I hand it off to an editor. My
EDITO.
well,
That's
my
editor.
first book I thought
Editor is an ER.
the online grammar checker was sufficient, and I had to go back in and clean up the last writing because seriously, stop that.
Just making sure my spelling doesn't get rusty. Because apparently I need to make sure that now I know how to spell isn't genetic.
So my second book, the original Intergalactic Space Force, I actually had a friend edit it.
Intergaltic.
Really need to stop that.
I'm just making sure my spelling doesn't get rusty because apparently you didn't.
And so we had a friend edit it, and Miss Judy, being a former teacher, I thought she would be a good editor, and there were still mistakes. So I actually had to pay for somebody else to do another editing pass on Intergalactic Space Force. So finding a good editor is hard, and you can't just go to your buddies and ask them to check. Like that's a good pass, but that can't be your final pass. My final pass is usually when I do the audiobook. Really need to.
I'm just making sure my spelling doesn't get rusty, man. I'm not sure what you expect.
When I read the audiobook, then I am listening for the rhythm, right? Like for example, it will be grammatically correct, but if I start like saying, you know, John ran into the room was empty, then he ran out of the room was still sitting there. I'm like, okay, the ear is picking that up. That's getting very repetitive and getting old and everything like that. So it's like he ran into the room, it was empty, the space was, that kind of thing. And I start massaging it because then when you read it out loud, you can um, hear it more in terms of a poem, right? In terms of the flow of the words and the rhyming. So that's like my final passer. But um, so finding a good editor is hard. There's two editors right now that I work with. When I did the Baby Eater, um, the Baby Eater was edited by a guy by the name of Liam Ford, and he was excellent. And he is expensive as hell. But the Baby Eater has won 4 awards, so that brought the quality level of my product up. Um, there's a second editor that I work with, um, and she's pretty good. She's not as good as Liam, but she is magnitudes cheaper, right?
Yes. Magnitudes.
Yes.
Spelled it correctly, by the way. Just like to mention. You know
So
how to spell magnitudes?
I told you I'm not going to spell off the top of my head.
Ooh, magnitudes. Magnitudes.
Okay. So point is I found me a very good editor that works for cheap. Um, but the problem is that she doesn't like hardcore horror. So now that I'm finishing up Fear, I have to scrape the money together to ping Liam and see if he's available to edit that one. So, and then when I go back to the next ISF book, I will go back to Shannon to edit that one just to save money. Um, I shouldn't say it like that. It makes it sound like she's second rate. She's a good editor, but again, Liam is
That has
phenomenally good, right? I mean, it's
HEMONIL. That's not. I don't think that's how you spell phenomenal. I think I spelled that one wrong. Wait, actually, no. Wait. PHENOMINAL. Phenomenal. Boom. The mic isn't even picking it up.
The mic can pick it up. Trust me, I listen to it when I edit it and it hears it.
PHENOMINAL. Phenomenal. I spelled that right.
So that's the dog. Is the name?
Can you spell that right?
Told you I'm not doing
It's not a time. I literally just spelled it out 3 times.
I wasn't listening. Okay, so
Salted. You don't listen to my beautiful spelling? Did you ever want? Have you ever won a spelling bee?
no, I told you I'm horrible at spelling.
Ooh, they call me the spelling bee world champ.
Yeah,
This guy knows.
nobody calls you that.
No, I call my friends call me that. They know how good I am at spelling. He's
They
biting.
call you Fish Boy. What are you talking about?
Well, that's because my whole thing is like fish.
I know you're like Troy McClure.
Dude, I freaking love fish.
I know Troy.
Dude, I alone am the fishy one.
You ever watch the episode of The Simpsons?
Yes.
Like, what are you, gay? God, I wish. So,
Yeah, he's getting a little ravenous.
so
God, I freaking love fish.
this will bring us back around to when we interview with Scott about the AI tools he used to edit his books. So,
Ballin.
again, I'm skeptical. I mean, like I said, I keep finding Grammarly making mistakes.
Book review time.
Okay, can I finish my thought?
I don't know. We'll see. Book review time.
I'm just saying, when I run things through Grammarly, I have to check every suggestion because a lot of the suggestions they make are, I'd say about half of them are just wrong, right? They either do not really understand the context of what I'm talking about, or it's too strict because, when you're writing fiction, you tend to be uh, a little looser. It's not the King's English as my dad would call it. But yeah, I mean, I've seen Grammarly actually work itself into an infinite loop because it'll sit there and say, "Oh, you need to change this by adding a comma," and then it'll go, "Oh, no, no, you need to take the comma out. You take the comma out. Oh, no, no, that needs a comma," and it just goes round and round and round because it can't solve itself. Um, so I'm skeptical. But I think he called it Claude. So next week when I go into the office and talk to him, we're going to talk a bit about his experience with AI editing because if it worked, that could be a real boon for indie authors. Because again, it needs to be edited, right? Any author that sits there and says, "Oh, I don't," if you're an author, you don't need. No, no, no. It's like that old adage. Anyone who has a um, defends himself is their own attorney in court has a fool for a client, right? You need another pair of eyes on your book. Um, and yeah, I'm skeptical that AI can do it, but Scott had a lot of success, so we will see, and we'll talk about that. And that can be a big help for us indie authors who are trying to get quality and still like actually turn a profit on these books.
Book review time.
Book review time.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. We're reading Myopia by Richard Dent.
I think it's Myopia.
Myopia.
Not
That would be
Mytopia.
that would be more accurate. Yes, it is Myopia.
Yeah, Mytopia would be a whole story about like cell division, I think.
Oh my god, I love cell division. It's like one of my top 10 favorite hobbies.
I actually met him at a book signing at a Barnes and Noble.
Gasp. The dog is nibbling me. It hurts quite a bit. Ow. Anyways.
So, and this is Myopia by Richard Dent.
Don't read the back. Give me a second. The canines get a little ravenous. You can see his little ears poke up around.
I will he's eating half the bag of treats just to keep him out of the podcast.
He's ravenous. Anyways, time to read it back. A homeless man is mysteriously abducted. A journal is left on the edge of a subway platform filled with stories about a world that doesn't exist. Imagine a world where every thought, every move is filtered through the central lens network. Now imagine being a 12-year-old boy and discovering a special pair of lenses that allow you to access this network undetected. This is exactly what happens to Matthew Glenn the day his father is murdered and 2 years later mysteriously appears back into his life. In a style that echoes back to the dark age of comics and graphic novels, but coming into an art form of their own. Myopia merges science fiction with noir steampunk, into a thrilling alternative reality where governments and big businesses use entertainment devices to cover up a new authoritarian landscape. If I sounded nasally, that's because I all of a sudden became nasally. Whoops.
Well, your sinuses are acting up because Southern California is on fire.
I'm also allergic to dogs. Incredibly allergic to dogs.
Yeah, we didn't know that when we got the dog. In fact, this is our second dog, and like we just now figured out you're allergic to dogs.
Oh, incredibly.
I don't know about that.
Did you not know? Did you not see the test?
I know what the test said. I just don't really believe it. But
They said I was extremely allergic to dogs. They gave me the little prick, and it was like a giant bump, like this big. It was insane.
Well, I think your nasally thing is more the fact that all of Southern California is on fire right now. There's a fire 7 miles away from us right now. So
that's like walking distance.
Anyway,
technically everything is walking distance if I travel.
I went to grab some paint supplies at Hobby Lobby, and I could see the flames on the mountains.
Yeah, sounds about right.
So yeah, I mean it's very, very close to us.
Anyways, this comic's good.
So starting with the art is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I did like the world that they were in, the basic story.
Oh, the dog is nibbling me. Thank you.
Seriously, Denim.
Bribe him.
Seriously. I will say that the story is dense.
There's a lot.
Like typically when you read graphic novels, so much of it is conveyed in the art that you can kind of skim through it. You can't skim through this. Like if you don't read every single bit of text, you start getting lost real quick. There is a lot going on in this book. And it's not that big, right? It's not a large book, but it is there's a lot happening in this book. In fact, I never did figure out what the things were that were coming down from orbit.
Nope. I have no clue.
Like they didn't really explain that, right? It's like the kid put on the green lenses and he looked at it once and he saw his dad with a stopwatch, which is basically kind of the cover. Never did figure out what that was about, but a lot of this has to do with a theory that the Earth's poles reverse themselves every several millennia. Don't you? Yes. Some people are actually worried that this is going to happen like soon.
Yes.
Well, the reason they're worried about that is because we are now so technologically dependent that when the poles reverse, it's going to screw up like all of our electronics, cell phones, internet, TV, power stations, all that gone, right? And we would have to start rebuilding all of that from scratch because it's just going to all go tits up. So I would also say that the whole trope of the twins thing was a little bit like cliched. So that's sort of like the big thing in the book is it starts out where this one scientist gets murdered in an alley. And then like a year later, this guy shows up. He claims to be a student. The guy that was murdered was his mentor. And he's a dead ringer for the guy that was killed.
Yep.
And, obviously there's some shenanigans going on because, I mean, how is it like, how the two looking exactly like, well, spoiler alert, he was his long lost twin, right? They had reconnected as adults, kept it in secret. But they were working together on this project to prevent or repair this flipping of the poles that was going to happen. And for some reason, it was a big major conspiracy, right? Which was another part of the story I didn't quite get why the government was trying to stop them. Because they're trying to save the world. Why are you anti-saving the world? Like, I didn't...
Dude, I'm anti-saving the world.
Well, I mean, there's one part where
I'm an evil villain. I want to destroy the world.
Well, I mean, there's one point where this, like, evil scientist kidnaps the kid. Totally, like, does this whole VR thing where he's pretending to be his dead father to try to milk him for information. And then...
I would do.
And then it gets to the end where he's like, dude, no, wait, the father was actually trying to save us. Why am I being the bad guy here? And he like switches sides because he realizes that he's on the wrong side. So there was there was a little bit of that in the book. That I don't know, I just kind of felt like I wasn't 100% sure of some of the people's motivations. Like I said, the book is very dense. Like there's whole pages where it's just nothing but um, like newspaper article printouts or something like that, and it's all text, and you're
That's on the back.
yeah. So yeah, it's expecting you to do your research and do your homework before you read this book. Um, but with that said, it was an intriguing world. It was a good story. I I did like the world he was building. The art is fantastic, and overall, I did like it. I do think that they could have lengthened it and given it more room to breathe, and it would have been a little bit easier to digest, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know, this was like being served a 9-course dinner and given 30 minutes to eat it.
Yeah.
So I think they could have like doubled the length of the book, not add any more story, just give it room to breathe so you can.
Know people, know the characters, just kind of.
It is a lot.
It's a chunk.
It well, I mean, but that's the thing. It's not a chunk. It's all very condensed and densely packed into that thing. Um, and that's what, and like I said, that's what I'm saying. I think they could have given it a little bit more room to breathe,
A little more
and I think that
padding.
would have made it for an easier read, not necessarily a better read, but an easier read, right?
Hmm.
It is just one of those things where you can't read it like casually. You can't be like thumbing through it while you're watching TV. You know, you got to pay attention to this book or you're going to miss shit.
Yeah.
So, so that's Myopia, Richard Dent.
Yahoo!
So
Yahoo!
where are they going to find us now?
Creep by Aftermath.
Creep IE
Oh
Aftermath
my god, I'm so
next
small.
weekend.
Give me an award. Give me money.
Give you an award for repeating the same thing every week for like
Yes.
2 months.
Yes.
I mean, that's just rote.
Call me a YouTuber.
We did, speaking of Creep IE, we did come in third in that contest.
Yep. Anyways, also gonna shop Spectral Ink. No, wait.
Well, hold on, I got the contest. So when they did something really clever, they handed out a promo code to each one of the vendors, and whoever promo code was cashed in the most got a free booth. And at one point, we were in the lead, and I was like, "Holy crap! How did I do this?" And so I did a full court press to try to get more people to uh, get their discount passes. And in fact, I think the discount code is still valid. If you use Spectral, you can get 20% off 1 day and 3 day admissions.
The dog's nipping me. I'm overreacting. It's really not that bad.
And but yeah, apparently somebody else also did the full court press and jumped ahead to 24 to our 12. So we were tied for third, which is still, I think, impressive for us because we're still growing our social media presence. But yeah, we got trounced in the end. So unfortunately.
Crazy canine.
And then in the weekend of October 13th is Son of Monster Palooza.
Right?
And so far, that's all we have scheduled right now.
And then go to shopspectralink.com to go buy beach towels, coffee mugs, the dildos, the clothes,
There's no dildos.
Yeah.
I don't know who would want a Mananagal dildo. That's what I want.
Well, that would be impossible.
Well, no, it just sort of detaches in half and then flies into you. I guess I don't know.
Oh, yeah, no, there's an audience for that. Some people are freaks out there, dude.
There's an audience for everything.
Yeah. Look at this guy. He's such a goob.
I wonder how well that would actually sell. Actually, horror themed sex toys at like Monster Palooza.
We're going.
I'm just curious.
We need to sign off now, and
There used to be.
we're going on time.
There used to be.
Oh yeah, you sent me the link to that website.
There was a bunch of. I think they got sued by
Yeah,
Disney,
yeah.
and that's how, and
They
they had to
had,
close down.
like themed dildos. So that you had
They were all superhero themed. Like there was actually one shaped by like Mjolnir.
yeah.
Like it was actual the hammer and the handle of the hammer was a dildo shape and
That was
everything
kind
like
of funny.
that. There-
Remember the Pikachu one with like beep.
well, except when
Wait,
it's
no,
inside
no.
you, it's going to be more like makes them
We're
really
going
wish
to hell.
makes them yearn for the days when he's back in that Pokeball. I'll tell you
Yeah.
that. That's
Well, now he's definitely in some Pokeballs. Now he's definitely in some Pokeballs. We can say that. But with that being said, we must go. We must toodaloo, fellas.
until next week.
Toodaloo, fellas. Ah, he bit me.
It serves you right.
Toodaloo.